Conquest versus Thragg might seem like an epic battle between two of the most powerful Viltrumites ever, but their fight is not even close. And today, I'm going to break down every reason why this fight is over as soon as it starts, starting with their breakdowns. Let's start by giving Conquest his due. Conquest is a high-ranking Viltrumite warrior, likely the oldest survivor member of the Empire. He functions as the Empire's nuclear option. The warrior they deploy when utter devastation is required on target planets. When Conquest arrives, civilizations fall, like what we saw in the Season 3 finale. His appearance tells you everything about his history. A scarred face bisecting his blinded right eye, deep wrinkles marking centuries of warfare, balding gray hair, crooked teeth from battles where opponents actually managed to hurt him, and that cybernetic prosthetic arm, a bronze and silver apparatus with glowing amethyst accents replacing his severed right arm. This isn't a warrior who's had an easy career. This is someone who survived wars that killed others, and as we all know, Viltrumites get stronger the more they are injured. Conquest's personality diverges sharply from Thragg's calculated leadership. Where Thragg commands through authority and strategic restraint, Conquest is a sadistic thrill-seeker who revels in violence, destruction, and the psychological torment of his opponents. He views the Empire's conquests as pretext for indulging his bloodlust. He mocks opponents mid-battle, provokes rage by targeting loved ones, and even jests about his own pain. The poor guy is just lonely. But personality doesn't win fights. Power does. So let's talk about what Conquest can actually do. Strength feats establish the baseline. Conquest's strength is immense. He overpowers Invincible repeatedly throughout their prolonged battle, using Mark as a weapon to slaughter civilians and devastate entire city blocks. He generates shockwaves with his attacks that literally level buildings. He survived a Ragnar mauling while already weakened by the Scourge virus. For those who don't know, Ragnars are creatures that tear through Viltrumites, and Conquest survived one attacking him when he was already compromised. That's not just durability, that's surviving something that should have ended him twice over. He nearly killed Adam Eve with a single punch. Eve, who has reality warping powers and enhanced durability, got hit once by Conquest and almost died. That's the kind of striking power we're talking about, and she very well could have died if Conquest finished her. But durability is where Conquest proves why he's truly one of the strongest. During his fight with Mark, he tanks punishment that would kill most Viltrumites. Broken bones don't stop him. Internal damage doesn't slow him down significantly. He keeps fighting through injuries that would incapacitate most strong beings, even Viltrumites. But here's the critical limitation. His regeneration was permanently impaired post-Scourge virus infection. The Scourge virus is a disease engineered to kill Viltrumites by attacking their healing factor. Conquest survived it, but he didn't come out unscathed. He cannot regrow lost limbs, which is why he has that cybernetic arm. Most Viltrumites can regenerate from almost anything given enough time. Conquest can't. That's a permanent vulnerability that affects every fight going forward. His cybernetic arm, while durable, has been shattered in combat. It's tough enough to punch through buildings and Viltrumite level opponents, but it's still a prosthetic. It's a weakness that didn't exist before the Scourge virus. But his strengths don't stop there. He is one of the fastest Viltrumites. He has exceptional speed that outpaces Earth's fastest beings. Conquest flies at faster than light speeds, crosses interstellar distances, and in combat moves faster than Mark struggles to track him. When Conquest attacks, he's coming from angles Mark can't predict at speeds that give no time to react. Combat experience spans centuries. Conquest has centuries of brutal efficiency and mentorship under his belt. He mentored Omni-Man, teaching Nolan techniques and philosophies about Viltrumite warfare. Think about that. Omni-Man, who decimated the Guardians of the Globe and conquered planets, learned from Conquest. The student became one of the Empire's most effective agents, and the teacher is even more dangerous. Conquest employs psychological warfare to unnerve his opponents. He doesn't just fight, he breaks people mentally before finishing them physically. He targets loved ones, mocks pain, makes opponents emotional so they fight stupid. Against Mark, he explicitly went after civilians Mark cared about, forcing Mark to watch people die because he wasn't strong enough to stop it. His combat mastery and intimidation are legendary within the Empire. Other Viltrumites respect and fear him. That doesn't happen unless you've proven yourself against the best. So, we've established that Conquest is terrifying. Now, let's talk about Thragg. Thragg stands as the unparalleled pinnacle of Viltrumite might, serving as the Grand Regent of the Viltrumite Empire and widely recognized as the strongest Viltrumite in history. Born during the turbulent Argal era, Thragg was forged in the fires of relentless combat training from the moment of his birth. Not from childhood, from birth. The Viltrumite Empire took one look at his genetics and said, "This one is special," and put him through a regimen that honed his already superior genetics into a weapon of unmatched potency. He participated in the civil war known as the Great Purge, which called the weak from Viltrumite ranks. This wasn't a war against external enemies. This was Viltrumites fighting Viltrumites to determine who deserved to survive. Thragg not only survived, he excelled. His performance in the Great Purge paved his path to leadership following the mysterious demise of Emperor Argal. For millennia, Thragg has steered the Empire's expansionist crusade across the galaxy, commanding absolute loyalty through a blend of raw power, strategic acumen, and an unyielding adherence to Viltrumite ideals of dominance. When Thragg Thragg gives orders, they are obeyed. Not out of respect alone, but out of knowledge that disobedience means death. Now, let's break down what makes Thragg operate on a completely different level than Conquest. Strength that defies comprehension. Thragg's strength is unfathomable. He ripped through Omni-Man's abdomen in a display of raw power that shocked everyone who witnessed it. Think about what that means. Omni-Man, who decimated the Guardians of the Globe, who conquered planets, who tanks nuclear equivalent attacks, got torn apart by Thragg's bare hands. Thragg exchanges blows with Invincible and Omni-Man without faltering. Not one or the other, both. At the same time, and he's winning. He maintained unchallenged rule over the Empire for eons, intimidating even the fearsome Conquest into submission. When Conquest sees Thragg, he knows exactly where he stands in the hierarchy. His leadership feats include expanding Viltrumite armies galaxy-wide and fostering continual improvement through adversity. He doesn't just fight, he builds empires. He doesn't just conquer, he establishes systems that last millennia. Durability that borders on invulnerability. Thragg's durability is described as nigh invulnerable. He's unaffected by blows from Invincible and Omni-Man. These are attacks that destroy cities, shatter mountains, and create shockwaves that devastate everything around them. Thragg tanks them without significant damage. Speed that exceeds every other Viltrumite. Superhuman, faster than light travel. Thragg moves at speeds that make interstellar distances trivial. In combat, his speed advantage over even elite Viltrumites is noticeable. He's not just fast, he's faster than beings who are already moving at incomprehensible velocities. Healing without limitations. Rapid regeneration without noted limits. Unlike Conquest, whose healing was permanently compromised by the Scourge virus, Thragg's regeneration functions at peak Viltrumite capacity. Lose an arm, he'd grow it back. Suffer internal damage, healed within hours or days depending on severity. This is a massive advantage that people underestimate. Combat experience measured in millennia. Millennia as a master combatant and leader. Thragg hasn't just fought for thousands of years. He's fought and won against the best the galaxy could offer. He's refined tactics through experience that span civilizations rising and falling. He knows every Viltrumite fighting style because he's been there since they were developed. His accomplishments underscore his dominance in ways that transcend simple power scaling. He ripped through Omni-Man's abdomen, a feat that showed every Viltrumite exactly what Thragg is capable of. He exchanged blows with Invincible and Omni-Man simultaneously without issue. Two planetary level threats attacking him at once, and he's handling them both. He maintained unchallenged rule over the Empire for eons. Nobody challenged Thragg because nobody was stupid enough to think they could win. Even in a society built on strength and conquest, Thragg stood alone at the top. He intimidated Conquest into submission. Let that sink in. Conquest, the sadistic warrior who revels in violence and mocks his own pain, submits to Thragg. Not because he wants to, but because he has no choice. The power gap is that obvious. Weaknesses are largely shared with minor distinctions. High-frequency sounds disrupt Viltrumite equilibrium, affecting both. Extreme force from equals can pose threats, though Thragg has no equals among Viltrumite. The Scourge virus affects both, though Conquest's regeneration was permanently impaired, while Thragg's superior immune system might fare better according to some analysis. Conquest's cybernetic arm, while durable, has been shattered in combat. That's an additional vulnerability Thragg doesn't have. Thragg's equipment is his body, and his body doesn't break. Here's what it comes down to. Both Conquest and Thragg share foundational Viltrumite physiology. Decelerated aging for prolonged peak condition. Dominant genes ensuring hybrid offspring inherent Viltrumite traits. Fight via inner ear balance systems. Nigh invulnerability to withstand extreme environments and assaults. Superhuman speed for faster than light travel. Reactive adaptation for growth through challenges. Regenerative healing to mend severe injuries. Enhanced senses for distant perception. Superhuman lung capacity and self-sustenance for space survival. Inexhaustible stamina. But Thragg's manifestations of these powers are amplified by his elite breeding and ceaseless training. Every advantage Conquest has, Thragg has it better. Every technique Conquest knows, Thragg knows it and has counters. Every battle Conquest survived, Thragg survived worse. So we've established the power gap, but power isn't everything. So how does the actual fight play out? Let's walk through how Conquest versus Thragg actually unfolds. Conquest attacks aggressively. In a realistic fight scenario, the encounter would unfold with Conquest launching an aggressive, taunt-filled assault. He's not subtle or strategic in the patient sense. He's a brawler who uses speed and strength to probe for weaknesses while psychologically breaking opponents. Conquest would leverage his speed and strength to probe for openings. He'd come in fast, throwing powerful strikes meant to test Thragg's defense. He'd mock Thragg mid-battle, trying to provoke rage or force mistakes. This is Conquest's bread and butter, the tactics that have worked for centuries against lesser opponents. But Thragg isn't a lesser opponent. Thragg's superior reflexes and power would allow him to evade or absorb lots of strikes. When Conquest attacks, Thragg either isn't there or tanks it without flinching. Conquest's probing attacks aren't finding weaknesses because there aren't weaknesses to find. Thragg would counter with devastating precision, perhaps ripping into Conquest as he did Omni-Man, tearing through flesh and bone, or pummeling him into submission with blows that shatter Conquest's cybernetic enhancements. enhancements. The cybernetic arm, Thragg targets it immediately. It's been shattered before, and Thragg knows that. One good hit, and Conquest loses his right arm functionality again. Conquest's durability would prolong the battle for a while. He'd likely drag it out and deal some real damage if he's going as aggressively as possible, but Thragg's stamina and adaptation would ensure a victory. As the fight continues, the gap becomes more obvious. Thragg isn't getting tired and is systematically breaking Conquest down. The fight likely ends with Conquest's defeat without Thragg sustaining significant injury. Definitely some damage, but nothing that threatens his life. Prolonged engagement. So what if Conquest somehow survives the initial onslaught? What if through skill, luck, or desperation he drags this fight out and Thragg is actually damaged and starting to get tired? Well, this would make things worse. Viltrumite biology means both fighters grow stronger through combat and near-death experiences. But Thragg starts at a higher baseline and his rate of growth is faster due to superior genetics. The longer the fight goes, the wider the gap becomes. Conquest's impaired regeneration from the Scourge virus becomes critical here. Damage accumulates. The cybernetic arm gets shattered and doesn't heal. His flesh heals slower than Thragg's. Every exchange where both fighters take damage benefits Thragg more because Thragg recovers faster. So he'd be cooked here, but could he beat him in a psychological warfare? Conquest excels at targeting emotional vulnerabilities. He goes after loved ones, mocks pain, forces opponents to watch things they care about get destroyed. This worked brilliantly against Mark, a young hero who cares deeply about civilians and has clear emotional weak points. Thragg has ruled through fear and authority for millennia. He's not emotionally vulnerable in ways Conquest can exploit. Thragg doesn't have loved ones Conquest can threaten. He doesn't have attachments that can be used against him. He's the living embodiment of Viltrumite ideals, and those ideals are strength and dominance, not mercy or compassion. If Conquest tries to mock Thragg, he's wasting breath. If Conquest tries to make Thragg angry, he's making things worse for himself because angry Thragg is still completely in control, just more motivated to end the fight quickly. Thragg's psychological edge comes from his reputation and overwhelming presence. Every Viltrumite knows what Thragg is. When you fight him, you're fighting with the knowledge that nobody has ever beaten him. That's psychological warfare on a different level. Okay, but Conquest still has a chance through environmental factors. What if circumstances favor Conquest? What if they fight near high-frequency sound generators or in an environment where Conquest has advantages? Shared vulnerabilities cancel out. High-frequency sounds affect both equally. Environmental hazards that would hurt one hurt both. And in neural terrain, raw power decides outcomes. Thragg's superior power projection means he controls the engagement distance and battlefield conditions. If they're in space, Thragg uses his superior speed to dictate positioning. If they're on a planet, Thragg uses his superior strength to throw Conquest through mountains. Conquest's equipment provides minor edges, but the cybernetic arm has proven fragile against top-tier opponents. That arm shatters, and Conquest is left with just his body, minus one arm, against someone whose body is better in every measurable way. So, based on everything we've covered, who actually wins? Thragg wins 10 out of 10 times, and it's not even close for poor Conquest. If you enjoyed this video and want to see if current Invincible could be Omni-Man, click the video on the screen now.